It is frickin' cold out here, and I just boiled water by harnessing the power of the sun. You can have sterilized drinking water in just a couple hours from virtually any water source using just the power of the sun. Check this out, guys. Boiled, sterilized water.
But will it make hot chocolate on a freezing cold day?
You better believe it will, Gramps.
Holy smackerels, I think I just burned my whiskers.
What are you waiting for? My code for your massive discount for the Patriot Sun Cooker is in the description below. The fake stream BS just keeps spewing out of the 24/7 psychological operations sewer pipe of corporate media. And the masses who are connected to the steady morphine drip of results-producing Hegelian dialectic nonsense continue to fan the flames of further deception. Now, I'm going to try my best to make it through this USA Today article without interjecting any commentary. So let's go. This article was released today, just one day before Christmas, and it's an article that Greta and her control freak handlers would be proud to endorse. The title is, "Were the predictions we made about climate change 20 years ago accurate? Here's a look." This is their lead video to the article.
The 2018 wildfire season was the deadliest and most destructive ever recorded in California, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Across the West, fires are starting sooner in the year, lasting longer, and getting bigger. And if they seem to be trending more apocalyptic, they are. Fires start with three things: fuel, oxygen, and heat. When temperatures are high, precipitation and humidity low, and winds are swirling, it's prime time for fires. Add in a spark, be it natural like lightning or man-made like a downed power line, a discarded cigarette, or a campfire, then bam! You've got yourself a fire. And with high winds, hello Santa Anas, and lots of fuel, the fire can become a rager. Fires have been increasing in numbers and intensity out west for three big reasons. First, the western US has been getting warmer and drier due to climate change, making it prime territory for fires to start and spread. Since 1970, temperatures in forested parts of the West have gone up about 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're expected to keep rising. Snow melts and spring thaws are happening earlier in the year too. The result? Forests and vegetation are getting drier. Because of warmer weather and the resulting aridity out west, from 1984 to 2015, fires spread an additional 16,000 square miles than they otherwise would have. That's the size of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined. Second, suburbanization into wildland areas has increased the risk of man-made fires and put more homes directly in the line of fire. Third, long-standing fire suppression policies lasting up into the 1970s have made a lot of land out west very flammable. Fires clear out overgrowth and dead foliage and foster the growth of trees that are more capable of resisting fires. While the government has since shifted away from those suppression policies, decades of accumulated dead branches and brush have become fuel for more catastrophic fires.
Yeah, just pin it on the generalized, enigmatic climate change foe that we all must beg our politicians to vanquish if we're going to save the planet. And don't even mention anything about the government's own documents, which admit to wanting to control the weather as a force multiplier and owning the weather in 2025. It's kind of easy to predict what's gonna happen when the elites are the ones making it happen. When it comes to climate change, did we accurately predict in 2000 what would be happening now? What the models correctly told us 20 years ago is that if we continued to add fossil fuels at an increasing rate to the atmosphere, we'd see an increasing range of consequences, including a decline in Arctic sea ice, a rise in sea levels, and shifts in precipitation patterns. And that's from Weather Underground meteorologist Robert Henson, who was speaking to USA Today. Overall, we're running quite close to the predictions made in 2000 for carbon dioxide concentration, global temperature, and sea level. Here's a look at climate change indicators for 2020. We're going to start with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas that scientists say is most responsible for global warming. Since the early 1990s, the carbon dioxide level in the Earth's atmosphere has jumped from about 358 parts per million to nearly 412 parts per million, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's a 15% rise in 27 years. And believe me, we had nothing to do with it. And check out this little clickable psychological control blurb. More 10 years to save planet Earth. Here are 6 imaginative climate change solutions. Now on to sea level rise. Since 1992, the global sea level has risen on an average of 2.9 millimeters a year. That's a total of 78.3 millimeters according to NOAA. Penn State University meteorologist Michael Mann argued that we have underestimated the rate of ice sheet collapse, which has implications for future sea level rise. Both of the world's giant ice sheets have lost tremendous amounts of ice in the past 2 to 3 decades. The Greenland ice sheet lost 5.2 trillion tons of ice from 1993 to 2018, according to a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And believe me, we're not all in bed together. Just take our word for it. The Antarctic ice sheet lost 3 trillion tons of ice from 1992 to 2017, according to a study in the journal Nature. Weather disasters. Mann told USA Today that we, quote, underestimated the dramatic increase in persistent weather extremes like the unprecedented heat waves, droughts, wildfires, and floods we've witnessed in recent years, which PG&E or government officials had nothing to do with, but that's beside the point. Since 1993, there have been 212 weather disasters that cost the United States at least $1 billion each when adjusted for inflation. And where do you think all that money went? Just look away from the politicians. Don't pay any attention to them. Nothing to see here, folks. In total, they cost $1.45 trillion and killed more than 10,000 people. And we're the government. We don't want people to die. We're in the business of saving lives, not destroying lives. Never mind the fact that in the last 100 years alone, we've cost the lives of over 250 million people, apart from wars. That's an average of 7.8 such disasters per year since 1993, compared with 3.2 per year from 1980 to 1992. Global temperatures are rising. Henson noted, it's clear that global climate models were on the right track 20 years ago. I mean, come on, we were right. We have nothing to do with what's transpiring now, but don't pay any attention to that either. Global temperatures would continue to rise as greenhouse gases, they're horrible, those horrible greenhouse gases. Never mind that plants need those greenhouse gases to grow, continue to accumulate in the atmosphere. That's been borne out. The global average temperature rose a tad more than a degree Fahrenheit since the mid-1990s, according to NOAA. Mann said the global temperature projections were just about on the money. And then it says, more on global warming. You just lived through the warmest decade on record, and it's going to get hotter. Just propaganda everywhere, guys. These climate models weren't designed to predict decade-by-decade variability, Henson said, so we didn't fully anticipate the slowdown in global atmospheric warming in the first decade of this century and the much more rapid increase in the 2010s, both of which were linked to the evolving rate of heat storage in the ocean. The annual average extent of Arctic sea ice has shrunk from 4.7 million square miles in 1992 to 3.9 million square miles in 2019, according to the National Snow and Ice Data Center. That's a 17% decrease. Droughts and wildfires. Thanks, PG&E. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Another thing beyond the scope of year 2000 outlooks were some aspects of regional climate change, Hansen said. For example, it's now clear that droughts in California are much more likely to be hot droughts, and this has led to the groundwork for longer, more devastating wildfire seasons. Was that a little predictive programming there? The number of acres burned by wildfires in the USA has more than doubled from a 5-year average of 3.3 million acres in the 1990s to 7.6 million acres in 2018. Sunny day flooding. We're also appreciating the threat posed by sunny day flooding much more than we did in 2000, Henson said. Tidal flooding is far more frequent on many parts of the Gulf and Atlantic coast than it was 20 years ago. And NOAA has projected that some locations could see more than 80 flood days a year as soon as the 2040s. And why wouldn't it, since they're planning to use weather as a force multiplier as they plan on owning the weather in 2025. And you and I, through their climate policies, get to pay for their damage. And they're well on their way. So I'm going to try to withhold all of my comments because I want to hear your comments. So leave your thoughts about this for the world and the Google Thought Police and the controllers of the weather in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.